The Autistic Culture Podcast Network, the sound of autistic culture.
ATPN.
Hey, this is Pablo Torre from Pablo Torre Finds Out, and today I want to talk to you about Boost Mobile. In sports, there's always pressure to chase the next big thing, but sometimes the smartest play is sticking with what's already working for you. Boost Mobile gets that. If your phone is running fine, you should not have to buy a new one just to get a better deal. Bring your phone to Boost Mobile and get unlimited wireless for just $25 a month forever. No contracts, no price hikes. Visit Boost Mobile. Unlock your phone. $25 forever requires customers to remain active on the Boost Mobile Unlimited plan.
Welcome back to Mindful Mondays. I'm your host, Ashley Dupuy, and this is your weekly space to lift your gaze, widen the frame, and remember that your life is taking place inside something far larger than the problem directly in front of you. Right here on the Neurodivergent Experience podcast, part of the Autistic Culture Podcast Network. So whether you're neurodivergent, wondering whether you might be, or simply longing for a little more meaning and presence in your life, you are so very welcome here. And over the last few episodes, we've been looking closely at what drives us, what weighs us down, and what our difficult experiences may be trying to show us. And today, I want to turn towards something that can change the scale of the whole picture: awe. I recently listened to an extraordinary Huberman Lab conversation with Dr. Dacher Keltner, a psychologist at the University of California at Berkeley, who has spent decades studying emotion and human connection and the science of awe. And it gave me so much to think about. Because awe is one of those words we all recognize, yet many of us would struggle to define. We know the feeling, the involuntary wow, the sudden stillness, the goosebumps during a piece of music. And those goosebumps, that particular experience has a name: frisson. That sudden wave of tingling, goosebumps, or shivering that can move through the body when we hear a piece of music, encounter an idea, or witness something beautiful, or just feel deeply moved. And I've always been someone who experiences frisson, although usually only occasionally, maybe a couple times a month. But something quite extraordinary has been happening during my recovery from surgery. At around weeks 4 to 6, just as I was reaching the point where I could see more and more improvement each day, I began experiencing frisson several times a day. Music would bring it on. A meaningful conversation would bring it on. Sometimes just an idea. Or sometimes just simply moving from feeling cool into warmth. And occasionally, almost nothing obvious at all. So for around 2 weeks, these waves of tingling and goosebumps and awe kept arriving, and it felt completely magical. And I cannot tell you why it happened so intensely during that particular stage of healing, but I do know that it made me feel extraordinarily receptive to life. It was as though my whole system had become more available to being moved. And every time it happened, there was awe inside of it. That feeling you get the moment you look up at a night sky and realize that the mind cannot quite contain what the eyes are seeing. Keltner and his colleague Jonathan Haidt described awe as arising when we encounter something vast, physically or conceptually, that asks our existing understanding of the world to expand. And that second part is really important. Awe is more than just encountering something large. It occurs when the experience doesn't fit neatly inside the map that we already have. The map has to move. And perhaps that's why awe can feel like wonder and humility and beauty and uncertainty and even a little fear all arriving together. For a moment, the organizing mind loosens its grip. We cannot reduce what is happening to something familiar. We simply meet it. And I think this is profoundly relevant to From Mask to Map. Masking often requires the opposite movement. It narrows attention. How am I standing? What is my face doing? Was that the right thing to say? Have I missed something? Am I too much? Am I not enough? The world becomes a series of details to monitor and social risks to manage. Attention contracts around the self. Although this is rarely vanity or self-importance, it's usually self-surveillance in the service of safety. And awe changes the scale. For a few seconds, the self is no longer the only object under examination. The sky is larger. The music is larger. The idea is larger. The kindness you have witnessed is larger. And you are still there, fully yourself, while also belonging to something beyond yourself. And this is where I want to offer some important neurodivergent nuance. Researchers sometimes describe awe as creating what's known as a small self. And that doesn't mean becoming insignificant or erasing yourself, or returning to the self-abandonment many neurodivergent people have spent years trying to undo. A healthy small self is contextual. It says, I matter, and I am not the entirety of the universe. My pain is real, and it is taking place inside a life that contains other things too. My current thought is convincing, and it may not be the whole truth. And that's very different from the old mask saying, I should disappear. Awe does not require disappearance. It offers proportion. And Keltner describes 8 broad sources of awe in human life: nature, music, visual art and design, spiritual experience, big ideas and sudden insights, moments involving life and death, collective experiences where people move or feel together, and what he calls moral beauty, witnessing courage, generosity, kindness, or goodness in another person. And I love this so much because it frees awe from the mountaintop. And of course, awe may be found at the edge of the ocean, or under a cathedral ceiling, or looking across a vast horizon. But it may also be found in somebody simply doing the right thing when no one is watching. In a musician landing on one note that somehow carries an entire human life. In a child discovering an insect. In a scientific idea that rearranges your understanding. In the choreography of starlings. In a nurse caring for someone with tenderness at 3 a.m. Awe is often available in ordinary life, provided our attention is available to receive it. And attention is the doorway. And in this Huberman Lab conversation, they discuss the idea of taking awe walks, taking a familiar human activity and approaching it with a deliberate readiness to notice vastness, surprise, and patterns beyond the usual focus. And research on older adults found that regular awe walks increased experiences of awe and positive social emotions. And one of the things Huberman and Keltner discussed was a very simple way of helping the mind move into awe deliberately in these awe walks. Start noticing with something small in nature, perhaps a single leaf. And for a few moments, you really look at it, really study it. The veins, the edges, the shifts in color, the tiny marks left by weather or insects and time. And you let your attention become narrow and precise. And after a few minutes of doing this, you start to widen the frame. Go from the leaf to the branch, and from the branch to the whole tree, and from the tree to the surrounding landscape. the sky, the space, the relationship between everything you can see. So you are moving deliberately from detail into vastness, from one small object into the larger world it belongs to. And I've started doing this myself, and it has been remarkable. A familiar walk can suddenly feel completely different. The tree hasn't changed, and the landscape hasn't changed. What has changed is the way that I'm looking. And I think that is such a beautiful reminder that awe does not always require a spectacular destination. Sometimes it begins with a leaf we might otherwise have walked straight past. We narrow the focus long enough to really see. And then we widen it enough to remember the whole. And what I find especially moving is that the world didn't need to become more spectacular. The quality of attention changed. And this returns us to the reticular activating system we discussed last week. When the mind is constantly scanning for danger or failure or symptoms, mistakes, and unfinished work, it becomes remarkably efficient at finding them. And that scanning may still be necessary in some environments. And it can also become the only channel playing. Practicing awe doesn't ask us to deny what is difficult. It simply gives the brain another category of information to notice. Beauty is also here. Goodness is also here. Mystery is also here. Something exists beyond the loop I am currently inside. And for those living with trauma, chronic illness, burnout, or prolonged stress, this really matters. A life organized around survival can become very small, even when the person living it possesses a vast inner world. Awe can create a window. Sometimes that window is literal, looking beyond the room towards the sky, the horizon, or a tree moving in the wind. And sometimes it's musical. Sometimes it opens through knowledge. And sometimes another person opens it through an act of moral beauty. And we do need to be thoughtful about the nervous system here. Vastness is not automatically soothing. The same concert that gives one person collective ecstasy may give another person sensory overload. The same ocean that feels expansive to one person may feel frightening or disorienting to someone else. A crowded cathedral, a festival, a thunderstorm. Awe and threat can live close together. And for some neurodivergent people, sensory sensitivity may make awe unusually vivid. It may also mean that the doorway needs to be chosen carefully. So your version of awe doesn't need to be loud. You may find it in the geometry of a leaf, in the bass note of a familiar song, a photograph of deep space, the intelligence of an animal, or the astonishing fact that your body continues trying to care for you after everything it has carried. The aim is not maximum intensity. It is enough safety to remain present while your understanding expands. And awe can also be collective. Music, dance, sport, ritual, singing, worship, and shared silence can all produce the sense that we are participating in something larger than our separate selves. Yet, collective experience carries neurodivergent nuance too. Belonging in a crowd can feel transcendent. It can also require decoding, masking, noise tolerance, and unpredictable proximity. So perhaps your collective awe is a tiny choir, or a meaningful conversation, or listening to a concert from home while knowing that thousands of people are hearing the same music, or standing with one trusted person under the same moon. There is no hierarchy of awe. The experience that opens you is the experience that opens you. Keltner's work suggests that awe can alter our relationship with the self, and with other people, and even with time. A difficult moment can feel less total when it is placed inside a wider span. And this reminds me of looking at one tile in a mosaic. Up close, the tile is everything. Take one step back, and it becomes part of a pattern. Take another step back, and an image begins to appear. The tile hasn't vanished. Its reality has not been disputed. But the wider view changes its meaning. And this is pure from mask to map work. The mask is often built from close-up survival. This expression, this mistake, this demand, this moment. The map includes the wider story. Where have I been? What else is present? What gives my life meaning? What remains mysterious? What am I connected to? What becomes possible when I stop treating this moment as the entire landscape? So how about a little bit of bite-sized Buddhism? The beginner's mind. And we have discussed this before on the podcast, but it bears repeating. In Zen Buddhism, there is the idea of the beginner's mind, meeting life with openness and curiosity, and fewer assumptions, even when the thing before us is familiar. The expert mind says, I know what this is. The beginner's mind looks again. And this is one of the great doorways into awe. The tree that you have passed 100 times is not merely a tree. Its roots are communicating through the soil. Its leaves are translating light into life, and branches recording weather. An entire ecosystem appearing to stand still. And the person you think you know completely remains a consciousness you can never fully enter. Your own mind, which you may have spent years judging, is still capable of surprising you. Awe begins where certainty makes room for encounter. So for this week's microdosing meaning, I want to offer you a very small experiment. Once a day, just pause and ask, what here is larger, stranger, more beautiful, or more meaningful than I've been allowing myself to notice? And you might decide to widen your gaze from one object to the whole room, or look from the nearest detail towards the furthest point you can see. Listen to one instrument, and then let yourself hear the whole piece. Notice one act of moral beauty. Read one idea that stretches the edges of your map. You don't need to manufacture a feeling. Simply create the conditions in which awe might find you. Aware. Notice where your attention has contracted. Allow. Recognize why it may have needed to. Align. Gently choose to include something larger in the frame. And this is just the kind of work we'll be doing in my From Mask to Map group coaching cohort beginning in September. Now, I am currently working through the particulars, and more details will be appearing on my website soon. And for now, you can register your interest by emailing me at integrativeiom@gmail.com. And if you'd like longer practices to support presence and nervous system regulation and a different relationship with your inner world, you can find meditations and yoga nidras and bedtime alchemy stories over on Insight Timer. Just search for Ashley Dupuy. And now, after exploring the science and experience of awe, I want to invite you into an imaginal walk. A journey that begins with something very small and then gradually widens. And if you are currently driving or operating heavy machinery, please ensure to pause the recording now until you can safely come back into stillness. And just allow yourself to find a comfortable position right now, in whatever way feels most supported for you. That could be sitting or lying down. And just begin to feel the support beneath you, the points of contact with the body. And let your hands rest. And allow your jaw to soften. And let the little muscles around your eyes relax. And whenever you're ready, feel free to gently close your eyes. And just notice the natural rhythm of your breathing. The inhale arriving and the exhale leaving. Nothing to achieve, nothing to force. Simply allowing yourself to arrive in this moment, here and now. Good, that's right. And in your imagination, can you picture yourself walking along a gentle path? It may be somewhere familiar, a woodland, country lane, or a landscape created entirely by your imagination. And just notice the ground beneath your feet and the quality of the light and the temperature of the air and the sounds around you. You are walking gently and slowly. There's nowhere else you need to be. And as you move along this path, something small catches your attention. A single leaf. Perhaps it's growing on a low branch, or perhaps it has already fallen gently onto the ground. And you move a little closer. And for a moment, you allow this leaf to become your whole field of attention. And notice its shape, the curve of its edges, and the network of veins moving through it, the variations in color, areas of light and shadow, and tiny marks made by wind, rain, insects, and time. And perhaps one part is smooth and another rough. And one edge may be fresh and bright, and another beginning to curl. And just take a moment to consider how much is happening inside this one small thing. Light being transformed into energy. Water moving through delicate structures. Cells responding to temperature, season, and sky. The leaf receiving what it needs from the tree and offering something back in return. An entire world of activity taking place quietly, without announcement. And you might also notice how easy it would have been to walk straight past, to see only leaf, to place it in a category and move on. But when you look closely, the familiar becomes mysterious again. There is detail here you could never fully exhaust. A whole life contained within something that fits inside your hand. And now, allow your gaze to widen slightly and notice the branch holding the leaf. The way the smaller veins of the leaf seem to echo the branching structure around it. And trace the branch back towards the trunk. And see how this one leaf belongs to a larger system. How it is connected, held, fed, part of something much greater than itself. And now begin to take in the whole tree. Notice its height, the reach of its branches, the shape of its canopy. The strength of the trunk. The dancing movement of leaves in the air. And imagine the roots extending beneath the ground. Some deep, some spreading wide, meeting soil and stone, and water, and the hidden lives beneath the surface. This tree has known many seasons that you have not witnessed. Storms, heat, frost, long days of sunlight, dark winters. It has changed continuously, while still remaining recognizably itself. And as you look at this tree, consider for a moment that no two leaves are exactly the same. Each one has grown within its own conditions, some receiving more light, some sheltered beneath others, some marked by weather, some feeding insects, some falling early, some remaining until the season turns, and still every leaf belongs, each one part of the life of the tree. And now, allow your awareness to widen again and notice the trees around it. Perhaps some are tall and straight. Some are twisted. Some are young. Some are ancient. Some are flourishing. And some are carrying broken branches. Some offering shelter. Some creating food. And some already returning themselves to the earth. The landscape does not ask them to be identical. Difference is part of its beauty. Variation is part of its strength. And take in the whole scene now, the colors, the spaces between things, the sky above, the ground beneath, the sounds near you, and those far away. Birdsong, wind, water, the distant movement of life. And notice how the landscape is made not only of separate objects, but of relationships. Roots interacting with soil, pollinators moving between flowers, rain entering rivers, light warming stone. One living thing becoming part of another. And you are here too. Breathing the air created and recycled through life around you. Standing on a planet that is moving, even though the ground feels still. Carried through space without needing to think how. You are not outside this landscape looking in. You are part of it. Your breath entering the same atmosphere. Your body formed from the same elements. Your life occurring inside the same vast web of exchange. And now, in your imagination, allow your perspective to rise, as though you're gently lifting above the path, above the tree, above the wider landscape, seeing rivers and hills, buildings and roads, the traces of human lives, the movement of animals, the vast patterns of land and water. And rise a little further now and see the coastlines and the cloud systems and mountains and cities glowing in the distance. And the whole planet gradually coming into view. And consider for a moment that every person you have ever known is somewhere on this small world. Every human story, every love, every grief, every argument, every discovery, every ordinary breakfast, every hand held at bedside, every child looking up at the sky. All of it happening here, on this small, astonishing planet. And now allow the view to widen further still, the earth becoming smaller, the moon nearby, and the sun holding the planets in orbit, and our solar system moving through the Milky Way. Billions of stars and nebulas, worlds we may never see, distances the mind can barely comprehend. light traveling across space for years, centuries, millennia, before reaching an eye that happens to be looking. And beyond our galaxy, more galaxies, shapes spiraling through darkness, clusters and filaments stretching across the universe, matter becoming stars, stars creating elements, and those elements becoming planets, oceans, trees, leaves, bodies, thoughts, and you. Let yourself rest for a moment inside that scale. You are unimaginably small within this vastness. And you are also here, aware, breathing, capable of looking at a single leaf and contemplating the universe it belongs to. The universe has become conscious of itself through the life within it, through the eyes that look, through the minds that wonder, through nervous systems that tremble when something becomes too beautiful or too vast to hold an ordinary thought. And perhaps this is one of the gifts of awe. It does not erase the life waiting for you. Your responsibilities remain. Your feelings and needs remain. And the frame around them has widened. There is more here than the single thought, more than the difficult moment, more than the story your mind has been repeating. And now begin the journey gently back, from the galaxies to the Milky Way, from the Milky Way to our solar system, from the solar system to Earth, and from Earth to landscape, landscape to tree, tree to branch, and from the branch to the single leaf. The vastness contained inside the particular, the universe meeting you through one small detail. And perhaps you might repeat inwardly now, I am part of something larger. I can meet the familiar with fresh eyes. There is more here than I've been noticing. I allow myself to be moved. And now, let the image of the leaf begin to soften. And return your attention once again to the physical body. Feel the surface beneath you. And notice the weight of your hands. The position of your feet. And the air against your skin. And just gently begin to wiggle your fingers and toes. And gently roll the shoulders or stretch in any way that feels good. And whenever you're ready, and not a moment before, feel free to gently open your eyes, returning to the room, returning to your day, perhaps seeing something very ordinary, with just a little more wonder. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's Mindful Monday. I hope this episode encourages you to look for awe in ways that feel natural to you. In the grand and breathtaking, of course, but also in the tiny and in the familiar and in the things you may have stopped truly seeing. And don't forget, if this From Mask to Map work is resonating with you, I am currently putting together the particulars of my group coaching cohort beginning in September. More details will be coming soon on my website, but for now, you can register your interest by emailing me at integrativeIOM@gmail.com. And you can also find longer meditations and yoga nidras and nervous system practices, bedtime alchemy stories, over on Insight Timer. Just search for Ashley Dupuy. That's Dupuy. And next week, we'll continue this journey into presence by exploring the magical state of curiosity. We'll look at what changes when we move from certainty into genuine inquiry, how curiosity can soften shame and fear, and how asking a different question can sometimes reveal an entirely different world. Until then, may you look closely enough to notice the details, and may you widen your gaze often enough to remember the whole. And may you continue to find wonder in the fact that you are here to witness it all. And as always, remember, we are all just walking each other home.
Hey, this is Pablo Torre from Pablo Torre Finds Out, and today I want to talk to you about Boost Mobile. In sports, there's always pressure to chase the next big thing, but sometimes the smartest play is sticking with what's already working for you. Boost Mobile gets that. If your phone is running fine, you should not have to buy a new one just to get a better deal. Bring your phone to Boost Mobile and get unlimited wireless for just $25 a month forever. No contracts, no price hikes. Visit Boost Mobile. Unlock your phone. $25 forever requires customers to remain active on the Boost Mobile Unlimited plan.
ACPN. Thanks for listening. Support autistic-led media through Autistic Culture Plus and enjoy bonus content, early episodes, and ad-free listening. Visit autisticculture.supercast.com to learn more.